You're tuned in to Nightline with me, Sabrina Zainal. The headlines. Moderate but meaningful Deepavali celebration across the country. And first pill to treat COVID gets approval in the UK. Good morning. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob on Thursday highlighted that unity in diversity is the true strength of the Malaysian family. Taking the example of the Deepavali festival, he said it was being celebrated by various races in an atmosphere of harmony. In a posting on his Facebook page, the Prime Minister said seeing the multiracial guests celebrating the festival together was a pleasure, and the atmosphere was also common in Malaysia, but it might be difficult to witness it in other countries. The Prime Minister also shared 3 photos of his visit to the residence of former Dewan Negara President Tan Sri S.A. Vigneswaran. Also present were several cabinet members, including Transport Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Uwi Kasyong and Human Resources Minister Datuk Sri M. Saravanan. The Hindu community in the country celebrated Deepavali on Thursday in a livelier atmosphere this year compared with last year, as they now have the opportunity to return to their hometowns to celebrate the festive and meaningful day with family, relatives and friends. Clad in traditional colourful attire, they still adapted to the new norms by adhering to the Standard Operating Procedures (SOP) set to curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Many Hindu devotees started the day by visiting the temples early in the morning to perform prayers to mark the Deepavali celebration, and among these places of worship was the Sri Krishna Temple in Brickfields, Kuala Lumpur. Although the crowd was much smaller compared to previous years prior to the pandemic, most worshippers were glad that they can come to the temple to perform their religious rituals after months of not being able to do so due to continuous lockdowns and COVID-19 preventive measures.
We want to get back to our normal good old days, doing whatever that we've been doing 2 years back and all these things. So we feel great, like coming out, meeting people, all these things. And the festival is a great occasion to meet people, get along with people. This is a good sign, a positive indication that things are improving.
It's nice to see that things are getting back normal again. I just can't wait for everything to be over and we can be just like before.
Malaysia has been gradually easing the COVID-19 restrictions, which include allowing religious activities in temples and other places of worships, but only for fully vaccinated individuals, and with mask wearing and physical distancing measures in place. And this was no exception at the Sri Subramaniartswamy Temple in Batu Caves, Selangor, a popular location during the Festival of Lights celebration. The temple had ensured that all devotees strictly observed the SOPs set, including limiting the number of visitors at a given time and making them wait in line to enter while maintaining physical distancing.
Pagi tadi, sebab saya dari Johor. So pagi tadi dah gerak pukul 4 sampai sini pukul 8. So semaya, semaya dengan family. Ya, sebab dah 2 tahun tak celebrate. So tahun ni dapat celebrate lah.
Many shops have also reopened in the capital's Little India and were attracting both locals and tourists alike. The traders and business operators were also pleased to see customers returning to the shops, as the pandemic had adversely affected many economic activities, especially the tourism sector. However, steps have been taken by the businesses to ensure the SOPs are adhered to by customers. Elsewhere, the Deepavali joy was also shared with the less fortunate at the Federal Territory Welfare Association for Senior Citizens and Children in Kepong, Kuala Lumpur. 35 underprivileged children and 10 senior citizens were treated to a meal, as well as received new clothes contributed by members of the public, which brought a smile to their faces. In Perak, Hindu devotees began turning up at the Kalumalai Arulmigu Subramania Temple in Gunung Churuh, Ipoh as early as 7 a.m. to perform religious rituals while adopting SOPs to curb the spread of COVID-19. Each of them had their body temperature and vaccination status checked by the temple workers before they were allowed to enter, and after each prayer session, sanitization would also be carried out for 30 minutes. Its chairman, M. Vivekanda, said that the celebration this time was livelier than last year, with up to 4,000 people expected to come until 9 p.m., adding that vegetarian food as well as sweets were also distributed in food packs to the visitors. The number of worshippers was also limited to only 50% of the temple's capacity. However, the people understood the need for the strict measures. In Perlis, a Hindu family living in Kampung Huma near Jalan Pauh Arau took the opportunity to educate their young children about preserving their traditions and culture and celebrating Deepavali so that it would not be forgotten. This includes taking the ritualistic oil bath before dawn, lighting the oil lamp or vilaku, and making a kolam decoration. The children were also taught about traditional Deepavali dishes like tose, maruku, and sweets. The festival, which marks the victory of light over darkness, is also celebrated by socializing and exchanging gifts with friends and family. The Election Commission, EC, will hold a special meeting to discuss the Sarawak state election following the lifting of the emergency proclamation for the state. Its secretary, Dato' Ikmaluddin Ishaq, however, said the date of the meeting had yet to be set and that it would be announced later. Dato' Ikmaluddin in a statement said the EC has received the official notification regarding the revocation of the emergency proclamation for Sarawak on Wednesday. The revocation is in accordance to Section 2 of the Emergency Ordinance Essential Powers Sarawak 2021. According to Section 3, Bracket 3 of the same ordinance, the State Legislative Assembly has to be dissolved on the date of the emergency proclamation is revoked. Under Section 3, Bracket 4 of the ordinance, a general election is required to be held within 60 days. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah on Wednesday consented to ending the emergency in Sarawak, paving the way for the state election to be held. Barisan Nasional BN is set to announce its candidates for the Malacca state election this Saturday. UMNO Secretary-General Datuk Seri Ahmad Mazlan said the announcement would be made virtually via UMNO Online's Facebook page at 10 a.m. He said a fully virtual ceremony will be made and broadcasted live through Facebook. There are 28 state assembly seats in Malacca with 495,196 registered voters. Meanwhile, Pakatan Harapan PH Chairman Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim is expected to announce the coalition's list of candidates on Friday. The place and time for the announcement, however, were still being discussed among its three component parties, PKR, Amanah and DAP. Datuk Seri Anwar, who is also PKR president, is expected to announce 28 names to be fielded as PH candidates. This after the seat composition for the polls had been finalized, where 11 seats will be contested by PKR, 9 by Amanah and 8 by DAP. All the component parties have also unanimously agreed to contest under the coalition's logo. Now, PAS's cooperation with UMNO and Bersatu will be discussed during the party's upcoming 67th Annual General Assembly in Kuala Terengganu this weekend. Its Secretary-General, Datuk Seri Taqiyuddin Hassan, said on Thursday the unity agenda, which will be included in the policy speech, will be raised during the PAS Muktamar in line with its theme this year, Islam Unites the Ummah.
PAS, kalau saudara-saudari tengok, memang kita mencuba dalam keadaan yang sehingga terkini pun dalam satu pilihan raya negeri yang akan diadakan pun kita berperanan. We play a major role untuk unitekan ummah ini, dan ini menjadi agenda yang berhormat Presiden kita, Presiden kita, dan didukung oleh semua kepimpinan kita. Tak ada split. We are united. Dalam PAS ni agenda perpaduan memang jelas.
Datuk Sri Taqiyuddin said this when inspecting the preparations for the annual General Assembly, which will be held in hybrid format on Saturday and Sunday, involving the physical attendance of 694 delegates and 852 others attending virtually. Meanwhile, he said past President Datuk Sri Abdul Hadi Awang and his deputy, Datuk Sri Tuan Ibrahim Tuan Man, were returned unopposed for the 2021-2023 term. 4 candidates would contest in the party elections for the post of Vice Presidents during the PAS Muktamar and 36 candidates vying for the 18 Central Committee seats.
A holistic approach to rehabilitate Malaysia's socio-economy, ensuring Malaysians can breathe easily again after 2 years of uncertainty. Making the real changes. How can the government enhance effective and efficient spending? And addressing the need for a more holistic tax reform. Centre for Market Education CEO Dr. Carmelo Ferlito speaks with Money Matters this Saturday at 5 p.m. only on TV3.
Parents and guardians are advised to keep their teenagers' COVID-19 vaccine second dose appointments. Deputy Health Minister Dr. Noor Azmi Ghazali, in a statement on Thursday, said his ministry found that there have been teenagers who failed to turn up for their second dose appointments in the past week. Dr. Noor Azmi said based on earlier projections, the second dose rate should have reached 80% on November 11th. However, the latest projections showed that the target will only be achieved in late November or early December. As of Wednesday, 83.3% or 2,622,306 teenagers had received the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, while 69.8% or 2,197,961 have completed the immunization. Dr. Noor Azmi, who was also the COVID-19 Immunization Task Force Adolescents CITFA chairman, also stressed that this situation will definitely affect the reopening of schools and also the reopening of economic sectors. He added parents who had to reschedule the second dose appointment can contact the school for a new one. On concerns among parents that their children will have harmful reactions such as allergies from the vaccine jab, Dr. Noor Azmi assured that serious side effects are rare and with early treatment they will fully recover. Moving on, the Federal Territory's Islamic Religious Department, JAWI, has issued new rulings regarding the organizing of religious activities in mosques and surau in Kuala Lumpur, Putrajaya and Labuan. Among them is the reduction of physical distancing between worshippers from 1.5 meters to 1 meter. In a statement, JAWI Director Datuk Muhammad Ajib Ismail said the new rulings came into effect on Thursday after obtaining the consent of Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah. Aside from physical distancing, children aged over 12 and foreigners who were fully vaccinated would also be allowed to join the congregation in mosques and surau. Organizing social events like kanduri, festive celebrations, weddings and akikah will also be permitted at mosque halls, attended by fully vaccinated individuals at 50% of the hall capacity and with physical distancing observed. The new rulings are also subject to the Standard Operating Procedures (SOP) set by the Health Ministry and the National Security Council. After being put on hold due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Kuala Lumpur Car-Free Morning KLCFM program will be reactivated on Sunday with a pre-registration concept. The Kuala Lumpur City Hall DBKL said in a statement that for a start, the bi-monthly event would be held as a simulation program to suit the new Standard Operating Procedures (SOPs) set by National Security Council. According to DBKL, only vaccinated individuals can participate in the program and are required to pre-register. The simulation program, which will be held in November and December, would use the 7-kilometer stretch in the city centre involving Jalan Raja, Jalan P. Ramlee, Jalan Dangwangi and part of Jalan Raja Laut, Jalan Sultan Ismail, Jalan Ampang and Jalan Tuanku Abdul Rahman. The KLCFM is seen as a program that could strengthen the racial unity among city folks, besides serving as a platform to practice a healthy and family-oriented lifestyle, as well as to cultivate environmental care. DBKL said the program involves various kinds of activities such as walking, running, and skating for 2 hours from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., and all roads involved will be closed to public and private vehicles during the period. Police seize smuggled tires worth more than 600,000 ringgit in Johor. This and more when we return. Thanks for staying with us. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah conferred the Datuk Kurnia titles on 4 individuals effective October 27th. This was announced by the Comptroller of the Royal Household of the Sultan of Pahang, Datuk Ahmad Kirizal Abdul Rahman, in a statement on Thursday. Datuk Ahmad Kirizal said that Bharat Group Managing Director Datuk Sri Vinod Kumar Agrawal was awarded the Datuk Kurnia Ekram title. Al-Sultan Abdullah also conferred the Datuk Kurnia Wira to Commanding Officer of the 3rd Battalion of the 505th Territorial Army Regiment, Lieutenant Colonel Datuk Dr. Insinyur Tong Kok Sing. The title of Datuk Kurnia Bistari was conferred on Maran District Cultural Body Chairman Datuk Muhammad Arifin Awang Ismail, while former Chief Executive Officer of Pahang FC, Datuk Akbar Vivi Abu, was awarded the Datuk Kurnia Arjuna title. He said the conferment of the title is in accordance with the Pahang State Constitution. In other news, a 35-year-old local man was found dead in Taman Silibin in Perak on Thursday, believed to have been murdered. Ipoh District Police Chief ACP Yahya Hassan said based on information received from the Raja Permaisuri Bainun Hospital, an injured dead man was brought by his friend to the hospital at about 4:15 a.m. In a statement, he said the post-mortem conducted by the hospital found that the victim had died from stab wounds on his chest. Yahya said following the incident, police detained 3 local men and were tracking down another man, aged 40, to assist the investigation under Section 302 of the Penal Code. Now over in Johor, an attempt to smuggle 727 tires worth more than 600,000 through the Bangunan Sultan Iskandar Customs Immigration and Quarantine CIQ have been busted by the Johor authorities. Johor Police Chief Dato' Ayub Khan Maidin Piche said that the Marine Police Region 2 arrested a 56-year-old local man and seized the tires at the Kempas Toll on October 28th. Dato' Ayub Khan said police were monitoring the entry and exit points of the CIQ at about 1 p.m. and later followed a lorry that was moving suspiciously. The tires were later found in the vehicle and were believed to have been smuggled in from Singapore. He said police believe that the syndicate operates by declaring not to carry any goods when passing through the CIQ and are collaborating with the Customs Department to investigate how such an incident could have happened.
Daripada siasat awal kita ke atas pemandu lori ini, dia memang ada access card. Lori ini bila diisytiharkan masuk ke Singapura kosong. Bila keluar pun diisytiharkan kosong. Tu dia ada kad akses yang boleh dia melalui lorong yang lori yang mensiharkan tak ada apa-apa barang dia ambil lah. Itu kita perlu menjalankan tindak siasatan susulan untuk melihat di mana berlakunya ketirisan khususnya di pintu masuk kita lah.
He added that following the first arrest, another suspect was nabbed the following day by the Johor Bahru North D9 Special Investigation Branch at Taman Sri Skudai. Police believe that the second suspect, who is 28 years old, is the person in charge of managing the delivery of untaxed tyres from Singapore to Malaysia. Dato' Ayub Khan said that the lorry driver was remanded for 7 days starting from October 29th until November 4th, while the second suspect was remanded for 2 days from October 30th until October 31st. And the case is being investigated under the Customs Act. Still to come, Europe at epicenter of pandemic once again, says WHO. We're back with the foreign front. An antiviral pill found to be effective at treating COVID-19 was given approval Thursday by Britain's drug regulator in a potentially game-changing way of treating the virus. It's the first country to grant approval for the treatment, although it was not immediately clear how quickly the pill would be available. The pill was licensed for adults 18 and older who are suffering from mild to moderate COVID-19 and who are at risk of developing severe illness. Known as molnupiravir, the pill is intended to be taken twice a day for 5 days and works by decreasing the ability of a virus to replicate, thereby slowing down the disease. Britain has already ordered 480,000 doses of the drug from pharma giant Merck. Meanwhile, drug regulators in the US and the European Union have already begun its evaluation. The World Health Organization, WHO, on Thursday warned that Europe and Central Asia face a real threat of a resurgence of the COVID-19 pandemic in the coming weeks. Its regional office said case counts are beginning to near record levels again, and the pace of transmission in the region is of grave concern.
According to one reliable projection, if we stay on this trajectory, we could see another 500,000 COVID-19 deaths in Europe and Central Asia by the 1st of February next year.
Official data shows the countries in the region were at varying stages of vaccination rollout and that region-wide, an average of 47% of people had completed a full vaccination series, while only 8 countries have topped 70%. Latest figures also show that the number of new infections has been rising for nearly 6 consecutive weeks in Europe, and new deaths per day rising for just over 7 consecutive weeks, with about 250,000 cases and 3,600 deaths per day. Meanwhile, Beijing has hit back against a U.S. report on China's expansion of its nuclear forces, calling it full of prejudice, and accused Washington of overhyping China's nuclear threat. China's foreign ministry on Thursday stated that no country will be threatened by China's nuclear weapons as long as they do not use nuclear weapons against China.
美国国防部发布的这份报告，同以往类似报告一样，罔顾事实，充满偏见。美方借报告炒作中国核威胁论，纯属操弄话术、混淆视听的把戏。国际社会对此心知肚明。事实上，美国才是全球最大的核威胁来源。
The Chinese Foreign Ministry's comments came after the Pentagon said that China was growing its nuclear weapons much more quickly than anticipated, narrowing the gap with the United States. The U.S. report said China could have 700 deliverable nuclear warheads by 2027 and top 1,000 by 2030, an arsenal 2.5 times the size of what the Pentagon predicted only a year ago. But it noted Beijing was likely not seeking a capability to launch an unprovoked atomic strike on a nuclear-armed adversary. Sports football, the Arabian Gulf League. Al Wahda notched their third consecutive win as they beat Al Sharjah 3-0 to keep the pressure on league leaders Al Ain. Omar Carbin broke the deadlock just before halftime to give the visitors the 1-0 lead before Joao Pedro Pereira doubled the advantage for Al Wahda in the 64th minute. Fabio Martins then put the icing on the cake as he added the third goal in the 80th minute for a 3-zip final scoreline. With the win, Al Wahda now trailed the league leaders Al Ain by 4 points. The North Indian city of Ayodhya kept its Guinness World Record for a third year on by lighting 900,000 oil lamps and keeping them burning for at least 45 minutes as part of the celebration of Diwali, the Hindu festival of lights. Visuals of the event wraps up Nightline this time around. I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, stay safe.